I went with a group of friends to a forest, known for its mysterious disappearances. What we encountered was beyond anything we could have imagined. This is my story of the Silent Forest, a place where the trees are alive and aware, trapping souls for eternity. As you watch, remember that not every forest is what it seems, and some secrets are best left undisturbed. Silent Forest. There was an allure to the Silent Forest that none of us could resist. Stories of mysterious disappearances and eerie whispers were rampant, yet we felt a strange compulsion to venture into its depths. As we arrived at the forest's edge, an inexplicable hush enveloped us. The usual sounds of nature were conspicuously absent. No birds chirped, no leaves rustled. The silence was unnerving, yet we pressed on. As the day turned to dusk, the forest seemed to grow denser, the trees towering ominously above us. It was as if the trees were watching, waiting. The air grew colder, and an unsettling feeling settled over us. I could sense the unease among my friends, but none of us wanted to be the first to suggest turning back. Hours passed, and the deeper we went, the more disoriented we became. Paths seemed to shift and twist, leading us in circles. It was then that we noticed the trees themselves appeared to be moving. At first, it was subtle branches swaying despite the lack of wind, shadows shifting in impossible ways. But soon, it became undeniable. The trees were alive, and they were aware of us. We tried to retrace our steps, but the forest had other plans. The paths we had taken vanished, replaced by dense underbrush and towering trees that blocked our way. Panic set in. One of my friends, Sarah, claimed she saw us peering from the bark of the trees, watching our every move. I dismissed it as a figment of her imagination, but deep down, I knew she was right. Nightfall brought a new terror. The forest, once eerily silent, now echoed with whisper-slow, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. We huddled together, our flashlights flickering weakly against the oppressive darkness. The whispers grew louder, and I could swear they were calling our names. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. We spun around to find one of our friends, Mark, missing. In his place was a large tree, its bark twisted and gnarled, resembling a face twisted in agony. It was then that I realized the truth. Trees were the souls of those who had disappeared, trapped and tormented for eternity. Desperation took hold. We ran blindly through the forest, hoping to escape the malevolent entities that surrounded us. But the forest was relentless. One by one, my friends vanished, each replaced by another twisted, anguished tree. I was the last one left, running until my legs gave out and I collapsed to the ground. As I lay there, the whispers grew deafening. The trees closed in, their branches reaching out like claws. I could feel the life being drained from me, my consciousness fading. In my final moments, I understood the true horror of the Silent Forest. It was a place of ancient evil, where the very essence of the forest thrived on the souls of the lost. The last thing I saw was the ground beneath me transforming, roots making their way around my body. The forest had claimed me, and I knew I would become another twisted tree, doomed to join the chorus of whispers in the Silent Forest. The transformation was excruciating. I felt my skin hardening, my limbs stretching and contorting into twisted shapes. The forest's whispers became clearer, filling my mind with a cacophony of voices searching one a soul trapped within the trees. Their agony became mine, an eternal torment I couldn't escape. Time lost all meaning. Days, months, maybe even years passed, though I couldn't tell. My consciousness was no longer confined to my human form, but spread through the roots and branches of the forest. I became part of its sinister network, bound by an unbreakable curse. In rare moments of clarity, I could sense new souls entering the forest. The trees would shiver with anticipation, eager to ensnare more victims. I tried to warn them, to somehow communicate the danger, but my efforts were futile. They were drawn by the same malevolent allure that had led me and my friends to this place. One day, however, a new group arrived. Among them was a young woman who seemed different. She moved with a purpose, her eyes scanning the trees as if searching for something. There was a strength in her gaze that I hadn't seen in the others. She carried a small, ancient-looking book, its pages filled with strange symbols and incantations. As night fell, she began to chant, her voice strong and unwavering. The forest reacted violently, the trees thrashing and groaning in defiance. But she continued, her words cutting through the whispers like a blade. I felt a shift within me, a loosening of the bonds that held me captive. The young woman's chanting grew louder, and a blinding light erupted from the book. The forest howled in pain, the trees shuddering and cracking. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt a glimmer of hope. The light intensified, enveloping the entire forest, and the whispers turned to screams of rage and fear. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it was over. The light faded, and the forest fell silent once more. But this silence was different. It was the silence of peace, not malice. I felt my consciousness returning to my body, the pain of transformation subsiding. I looked down and saw my human hands, my body whole once again. I stumbled forward, disoriented but free. The young woman approached me, a look of relief on her face. "It's over," she said softly. "The curse is broken." I could barely comprehend her words, my mind reeling from the experience. She explained that the book had been passed down through her family for generations, a means to combat the dark forces that had claimed the forest. She had been searching for it her entire life, determined to end its reign of terror. As we made our way out of the forest, I glanced back one last time. The tree stood silent and still, no longer possessing the malevolent presence that had tormented me. I knew that I would never forget what had happened, but I also knew that I had been given a second chance. We emerged from the forest into the light of dawn, the first rays of sun warming my skin. I took a deep breath, savoring the fresh air. The silent forest was silent once more, but now it was a place of peace rather than fear. And as I walked away, I felt a sense of closure, knowing that the spirits of my friends and countless others were finally at rest.